Do you get that message pop up?
Yeah, I clicked on got it.
Okay.
Got it.
I gotta hit my mic so many times.
Okay.
We are live right now, aren't we? Make sure you're unmuted on Restream.
Then I'm unmuted.
Yeah, I guess we
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Okay, so we are live. The podcast listeners will have to power through this. Sweet. Ian said we are good. Sorry, we're starting up a new streaming thing as we kind of clued at or hoped to, happen last week. So the setup is a little different on our end in terms of like the little messages we can put up and whatever on the screen. It's a little more simple this way, which I honestly don't mind. And we're set up through Zoom now. So hello everyone and welcome back to episode 91 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Hopefully we sound nice on our new mics. You'll hear Ryan in a sec. You see the look is a little different. That's okay. We're here for you on a Wednesday night, 7:32 p.m. Ready to roll. I mean, the Celtics are on right now, so we'll obviously get to what has gone down for them and what is currently going down at times as well. Episode 1, the Mark Savard episode, Alfredo Aceves, Dietrich Wise, and Jimmy Collins wore it once, which I totally forgot about. But yeah, Mark Savard, most notable for me, is actually just tweeting about the Bruins. He was actually tweeting about the Bruins last night, ironically enough. But Ryan, how you doing on this fine Wednesday night?
I'm doing horrible. The Celtics are down 11. The sky is falling. Everything's awful. No, I'm doing fine. Like you said, decent amount to talk about. Celtics, obviously, some say steal game 1, played really well. Marcus Smart gets some honors that we'll get to. Bruins are still kind of on their season-ending little tour of late, and then some late Patriots news that came out today, or maybe some just NFL news. Some of it maybe pertains to the Patriots if we are so lucky to have that happen, but with how they operate, probably not. But again, we'll get into it. But other than that, yeah, doing good. Like I said, hopefully the Celtics can mount a little bit of a comeback here, getting off to a sluggish start, but who knows? It's going to be a long game and a long series.
Yeah, I was at game 1 of the Celtics series, so that was awesome.
You are the better of the two of us to have at a Celtics game, as we've learned this season. If I go, they lose. If you go, they win in dramatic, awesome, entertaining fashion. So kudos to you for picking the right game to go to. And if we need a must-win game and one of us has to go, it's going to be you. Just letting you know now.
All right, that's fine. I support that.
Okay.
But game 1, that was awesome. I was just thinking back, got a little distracted, blanked out a bit for a second.
Did Kyrie flip you off? Were you one of those people that?
I hope so. I couldn't tell, but I hope so.
All right.
Because I was being very loud and very mean to him.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever he'll do, he'll get over it. He probably won't actually.
He definitely won't. Nope.
Yeah, he definitely will not. Sorry,
no.
Guys, I'm working on some social media stuff right now for the show. Yeah, I mean, the first game was sick. I'm kind of just rambling right now as I type because my brain isn't multitasking very well.
Trying to multitask, yeah.
I just sent out the tweet on the podcast page. So
okay, good to know. I'll check that out.
I'm just trying to fire up it on my phone too, so we can see Twitter questions because we don't know if those will come through. So let me set this stuff up. Sorry, we'll get better with this as we learn here. People,
it's a work in progress.
Yeah, bear with us. Yeah, so jersey numbers out of the way. The dickhead behavior segment is next. Ryan's better segues into what's going on in our first topics of the night. So I'll start with mine. Deadspin, just really bad article on Patrice Bergeron that came out this week because they're Deadspin and they suck. So it's not really entirely surprising. It was by Sam Fells. Never heard of him. Glad I hadn't. I'm not going to read the whole article, obviously, but it was just like, it was the classic. I don't know if he's a voter, but like the term is voter fatigue or voting fatigue for like certain candidates that win awards so much. You don't want them to win every year. And last year was Mark Lazarus from The Athletic talking about how Bergeron is, very good, but he's not the only two-way player in the league or whatever the tweet said. Now this says at least know why you're voting for Patrice Bergeron for Selke. Just a really dumb article, I think, like I said, based in voter fatigue for large part. So that bothers me because I think it's just a stupid thing to let get in your way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's not a Bruins fan. I don't know much about the guy, as I mentioned. So it was just really a really dumb article to write because there are just more reasons than ever for Patrice Bergeron to win the Selke this year. And to say that this year is just crazy for those reasons. Like he's having one of the best all-around seasons since like the 2008 season, when I think it was Zetterberg and Holmstrom. And these metrics that this data I saw from J Fresh Hockey was measured in. It was like Zetterberg and Franzen in the 2007-2008 season, I think. He's just tops in all these different metrics, like breaking records for certain things behind the scenes, if you're into the metrics and stuff. And he, he's playing so well. And it's just weird timing because, like, it lines up with Bergeron's potential final season. Talking about maybe they'll just do it and give him a send off. That was part of the article. I just think it's a lazy article. I think they saw a few things that fit the narrative and ran with it, and that's not the way to go. But awards discourse is stupid like all the time in pretty much every sport. Another one here that I forgot to put in the outline, I just tweeted about it, was something Shayna Goldman from The Athletic wrote recently about all these advanced metrics and like defensive rating and goals saved above expected, I believe, and a few others were in there. Patrice Bergeron's overall defensive rating, I don't have every single stat that factors in here, but it's 26.41. The next highest in the league is Brad Marchand at 17.74. Like, he's winning tons of faceoffs.
There's a gap there, yeah.
Yeah, there's like, read The Athletic if you want to know why Patrice Bergeron deserves the Selke a little bit more. And he's doing it at 36, and like to write this potentially towards the end of his career, just to not reach out and like broaden your argument as much. Clearly, he used offensive zone start percentage for shifts is like one of the reasons. That's really about it. It's just like offensive zone start percentage, face-off percentage, stats, obviously Corsi against expected goals. But, while this guy definitely worked towards, putting a good case together, I don't think he did. And I think there was a lot more he could have done.
Mm-hmm.
And it still wouldn't have made any sense. I don't want that to, be on people's minds. The only two players other than Bergeron that other than Bergeron that he mentions are Mason Marchment on the Florida Panthers and Marcus Foligno on the Minnesota Wild. Like, you could only mention two other players to compare him to and maybe say are more worthy than him. Like, it's just lazy.
I was gonna say it's I'm sure there's more names you could throw in there. I feel like you just took the maybe not the best two guys. Obviously, I didn't even recognize the first guy's name, but just you said do your homework a little bit more. Like, that kind of falls. The thing about the article that I had the problem with is the very first line of if Patrice Bergeron is upright, averagely, whatever ambulatory means, and plays more than 50 games, he's going to win the Selke Trophy. You and I have had this discussion before. I mean, I had to look it up because I was curious. The last time he won a Selke was 2017. So that's not a true statement. True. I feel like you and I have had the argument before, at least the last couple of years, and maybe this feeds into the point he's trying to make, this maybe bias that you and I have. But I feel like we've talked about at least the last few years that Bergeron's been robbed at times of winning the Selke. We've definitely had that discussion. So to say, if he's going to be upright and play 50 or more than 50 games a year, he's a shoo-in to win it practically is what he's saying here. That's not even close to true.
It's just the best player at exemplifying whatever the award is. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't the first time we've heard about voter fatigue and controversy with awards. It was just really, really dumb, and I don't know. It's just just feels very lazy, rooted in potentially another fandom and
slow day at the office at Deadspin,
Bergeron
which
leads the NFL or leads the NHL in face-off percentage too still, so that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going back to the thing because I have one more thing to reference that I had. The funny thing is he didn't mention who I would say is his most likely competitor, which is Elias Lindholm. So that was just a note. There's one other name I'm trying to remind myself going back to this list. Joel Eriksson-Ek. Jordan Stahl is very good, but I wouldn't put him in the Calder or the Selke. consideration. Austin Matthews has been awesome in the defensive zone and really rounded out his game. I think he'd be in there.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, you mentioned Marchment. I love Mason Marchment. If you listen to the show way back, I thought the Panthers should have lost him in the expansion draft, and this Kraken are kind of stupid for not taking him. He's pretty good right now. And yeah, I was just like, I had to give this Patrice Bergeron erasure disrespect some hate because it deserved it. It's tier 5 when you miss Patrice Bergeron.
Punishable by death.
Or maybe he'll yell "fuck you" at you like he did to whoever it was on the Devils or something, whichever game that was. So sorry for a sloppy start as I was working on things as we go here, people. But yeah, I mean, you just can't mess with Patrice Bergeron to get away with it. Or one more thing, he'll come at you and skate to you before the start of a period like he did to Tom Wilson last year.
Oh yeah, with the penalty box.
Awesome.
Yeah,
one of my favorite photos of all time, honestly. But yeah, your dickhead behavior motion here.
Yeah, I took the very obvious and easy one. It works for transitional purposes. I did see one. I didn't add it to the outline. I saw it very briefly on Twitter before we got on here. I just want to get your thoughts on it. And like I said, we'll talk a little Patriots probably later on in the episode. But I don't know if it's true. I saw a report. I don't know if you saw the same thing that N'Keal Harry is skipping or isn't present at optional.
No, it's true.
Okay, so that I could throw up in if I wanted to do a quick little dickhead sidebar for my main point. Like that in itself, like N'Keal Harry probably on the bubble now with the acquisition of Devontae Parker, maybe even more so if they are able to get Deebo Samuel. Like I said, we'll jump on that later. But like, buddy, it's not like you're a top tier receiver on this team. Like you need to attend those.
He doesn't get hurt.
Maybe if he thinks it's going to boost his trade value, but I don't think he has any to begin with. Like, so just show up and maybe show that you're interested instead of pulling the no-show card. But whatever, it's N'Keal Harry. I kind of, at this point, we expect nothing less from him because he doesn't really give you anything on the field. Why would we expect him to give you anything in practice, I guess? So yeah, I just wanted to get, my thoughts on that. I'll put that as a tier, I guess, 4 for a quick little put together. But no, the big one, the tier 5, the obvious one, Kyrie Irving's game 1 antics. You were there. It was brutal sounding on the broadcast listening to it. Obviously, we saw what he did. How was it actually being in the arena? Was that I'm assuming it was a good time for you. You said you were yelling at him. How was that, with thousands of fans screaming at him as well?
It wasn't loud enough. I gotta be honest. Like,
sounded very loud on the TV, and obviously it got to him.
The crowd, like in general, I thought it was gonna be louder all game. The game I went to, Game 5, Round 1 in 2018, was way louder. And I was up in the balcony that game. I was down in the lowers this game. So I don't know if that factors into anything, but yeah, it wasn't loud enough. Sadly, like the people were into it on scoring plays and whatever, but as I watched Peyton Pritchard miss.
Yeah, tough start for them tonight, but
yeah, I thought it was awesome. I had a ton of fun. I was screaming a lot, chanting at Kyrie, but I expected it to be a little crazier. It was a good game though. It felt like we could use more from Jaylen Brown if I have one complaint, my king, but I went to see him because he's a good guy and he deserves my fandom, as does this team. It was awesome, though. I mean, like, I don't want to just make it sound like it was crappy. I want to reiterate that it was awesome.
They did win the game, so it couldn't have been too bad.
I did go with our boy Matt. He had tickets.
That's nice.
That was awesome. But, yeah, I thought it could have been louder, but the game was awesome. Had tons of fun. Obviously, the buzzer beater was crazy at the end. I was watching the court the whole time. I wasn't really looking up at the clock on the Jumbotron. So I didn't know the game ended at first. Honestly, God. I didn't know I was so zoned in, I didn't even hear the buzzer go off. I was just looking, and I saw, like, for a quick second, I didn't, react immediately when they won when he hit it. Like, it took me, 3 or 4 seconds, oh, shit, they won.
Game's over, yeah.
It's over. Because I think the last time I looked at the clock, there was, 12 seconds left, 10 seconds left. So a little time went by, and I got bamboozled a little, if that's the word for this. Yeah, but, I mean, people were definitely giving it to Kyrie. I just wish it was louder, and I wish the game as a whole was louder. But it was tons of fun. Awesome atmosphere. I think the Garden would get louder at Bruins games for playoff games, but I can't wait. Hopefully, I get to go to both this year. I'm willing to shell out decent money to potentially see a playoff game of Patrice Bergeron's potential last season, which I don't think it will be, but excuse me, biting my nails like an idiot. If he were to retire and I never saw him play in the playoffs, I wouldn't be able to live with myself, entirely as well as I'd like to. So
fair enough.
I'd be very upset. I was being hyperbolic before, but sorry, I'm biting my nails. I'm just such a little asshole. Interrupting the show.
No, I mean, I found
it was funny. It was a funny game to be at as well. I can't go without mentioning that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the closest I ever had to anything like that was probably I think it was Alex Rodriguez's last game as a Yankee, or one of the last games he played at Fenway, getting the chant "F you, A-Rod" was close. But I mean, that probably doesn't even compare to Kyrie, obviously two very different circumstances. But I mean, just the whole thing, like, it's just everybody's had their opinions on, there's some people that say, what Kyrie did is fine. If the fans are going to give it to him, then he can give it right back to him. The Stephen A. Smiths of the world. But no, I mean,
doesn't make him less of a douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think I completely forgot even, he was asked about it before the series started, and I had to go back and look at the quote he gave, and he said, along the line, I'm not going to read the whole quote. The big line that stood out though was, like I said, he was asked, I'm assuming, about the fans, and he said, giving the energy to what the fans are doing is not where my attention is. And then that whole game seemed like that's exactly where his attention was. Like, obviously flipping off the fans, telling the guy at halftime, or if it was before the game, I didn't see the yes my D comment. I
figured it was at the end of the game when I first saw it, though.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if they're going back to the locker room after, pregame warmups, or I'm with you. I have to assume it was halftime. But just the whole stuff afterwards, like, dude, you're a professional basketball player. Like, what you did here, the shit you pulled, like, you got to expect that coming in, and then to just act like a child the whole time. Like, there's ways about going about it. Like,
I just made the most big brain play of my life.
Which was what?
Which was hitting the F3 button, so I have multiple screens open at once, because it shows you all your windows on one screen. So now I don't have to click back and forth all the time.
All right.
Unless I need to scroll up and down the outline. That's the one thing. But yeah, he's such a douchebag. That was the main thing I called him. I wasn't saying that F you Kyrie as much. I was more so just calling him a douchebag and a crumb bum, and a bad guy with bad vibes, a loser bag, a loser, miscellaneous other things. Nothing too crazy though. I wasn't one of the fuck Kyrie guys the whole time, but he deserved it, and we gave it to him. I just, I can't not go back to wishing it was louder. That was the one thing that stunk a little bit about the experience. But it was still pretty crazy nonetheless. Not a bad thing, but I was just expecting a little bit of jam from Celtics fans. But speaking of the Celtics and everything going on right now, Marcus Smart is the defensive player of the year, and I definitely wouldn't have said that preseason. Not gonna lie to you.
No, I mean, I, for a very split second, not gonna lie, consider giving myself the dickhead of the week, or the dickhead behavior segment. For all the crap I said, obviously, at the start of the year about Marcus Smart, and making me eat my words this year with how well he's turned around his season. And, obviously me wanting to trade him at the start of the year, now comes back and wins the defensive player of the year. I mean, well-deserved. There were a lot of talk about, who should win it. I know Rudy Gobert, his name came up. Obviously, he was one of the finalists. When I saw he was a finalist, I'm like, all right, they'll continue the trend of giving it to a big man. I saw Bam Adebayo. He finished fourth in the voting. He was a little upset that he didn't get more consideration. Like, it's another guy that, should be right there in consideration. But the fact that Marcus Smart gets it, it becomes the first guard since Gary Payton did it back in the 1995-96 season. He's the first Celtic to do it since Garnett did it in 07-08. I think that was Garnett's MVP season as well. Give credit where credit's due. We talked a lot about it when we did our Celtic stuff. It was turnarounds. I think both of us kind of pointed to, Marcus Smart finally playing like the point guard that he is, getting to step into that role more, be a facilitator, get to play, the role that he played when he first came up here and where first was, drafted, brought onto the team, like turned the season around. And obviously it's good to see him get some consideration. Good to see Robert Williams get some consideration as well. He finished with 8 total points in the voting, got a first place vote, got a second place vote. I think he probably would have been higher up if obviously his season wasn't derailed by that injury. Surprising to see Al Horford get some consideration. He got a second place vote to finish with, 3 voting points. So good all around to see the Celtics as a good, obviously, defensive team as they were, the best defensive team in the NBA in the regular season. 3 guys on that list, not a surprise there. And obviously then he got named it after game 1, but you saw on display what Marcus Smart was able to do, just particularly against Kyrie Irving, as we kind of jump into our game 1 thoughts. I mean,
One thing I had to say real quick though, I think the interesting thing if Williams was healthy to watch with his case would have been the fact that we knew what the commodity what we had was Smart, but we didn't see Williams reach the level he reached this year until a certain portion of the season, and that's when things I felt really changed.
Really turned, yep.
So that would have been a big thing, a big feather in the cap of Robert Williams in his case, but unfortunately for him, thinking of him now for game 4, game 5, maybe. I don't know if am I mixing that up with the not Wayne Simmons, Ben Simmons?
Ben Simmons. Now I know there's talks of potentially Simmons, which is it's kind of funny that as soon as the series shifts to Brooklyn, that's when Ben Simmons might be able to make his return. So they're talking games.
That was reported like a week or 2 ago, though. So.
That's true. Yeah, that's true too. So that's a fair point. But I just, as big as a bitch as Ben Simmons is, it's not surprising that the guy would want an easier atmosphere and an easier place to jump into play for his first games of the year. But I don't know. I mean, Rob Williams is interesting. I mean, if they played as well as they did in game 1, obviously they're coming back now, but we talked about this before. If they don't seem like they need Rob Williams in this series, then I wouldn't push bringing him back. I mean, maybe if it goes later in the series, game 6, game 7, if you get there and you need him and he can play, then maybe he can give you something. But I mean, I would take it day to day with him. We talked about it too. Alonzo Ball was a good example of a guy that, was expected to come back this season and then just kept having setback with a similar injury. And now he's done for the year. So you obviously don't want to have that happen to Rob Williams. So if he can't go, then it's fine. If you can beat Brooklyn, which we both think they can without him, I'm fine if you don't see him in the series unless you desperately need him. I'm curious if just on him really quick too with the voting, if he stayed healthy and obviously, like you said, was on the same trajectory that Smart was on, I can't imagine they would have had 2 Celtics out of the 3 finalists. So I was curious to see, if they both played out the rest of the season, who would have gotten that edge more to you? Like you said, when Williams, took his step, that kind of turned the Celtics around. Maybe they would have given him more consideration, or would they have just stayed with Smart as, their top choice for the voting? So that would have been interesting to see which direction they would have went in.
Yeah, I think they would have stayed with Smart.
Probably, yep. Just a more well-known name. Rob Williams kind of obviously is more up and coming than Smart has been. More people know Marcus Smart, what he's about. So, but again, would have been interesting. Like I said, though, obviously game 1, a lot happened. Just on that Marcus Smart note, really quick, what he was able to do against Kyrie Irving. They haven't had him on Irving a ton tonight, I've noticed, just kind of glancing up at the game, which has been interesting because he worked pretty damn well against Kyrie in game 1. Obviously, Irving almost single-handedly beat the Celtics, which is the one, consideration, the one bump I'll give him in that game is he took that fourth quarter over and almost, beat the Celtics by himself with Kevin Durant struggling. But Marcus Smart on him, he was typical Marcus Smart, only 5 points allowed when, he was the closest defender on Kyrie Irving. Irving shot 1 of 3 from the field, 1 of 2 from deep, was 2 of 2 on free throws and had 1 assist. Everyone else that had a chance of guarding Kyrie, he dropped 34 on him. So just typical Marcus Smart stuff, shutting down the best player on the floor. He and Al Horford, we'll get into, that final play. Your thoughts on that? Like I said, obviously being there, you were locked in, as you mentioned, not even knowing that the game was, a buzzer beater when it happened. But Smart and Al Horford, picked a great time to double them. They were fantastic on that, completely suffocating Kyrie. I think we didn't even talk about that. That was the point I wanted to bring up about the, the fans getting on him. And, it seemed like Kyrie wanted to, shut everybody up. He almost did in that fourth quarter. I think it was Ted Johnson had this point. He seemed to think that, that helped or that hurt Kyrie late in the game, rather that, he wanted to, take that final shot. Shit, he dribbled, 22 seconds off the shot clock, 21 seconds off the shot clock before they finally dumped it off to Kevin Durant for that, last second trying to, I don't want to call it a heave because that takes away from Kevin Durant, but, that last second prayer that he threw up there. So I think that is where, Kyrie was affected too by the fans, is he wanted to be the guy that, shut everybody up and, won the game for Brooklyn. And obviously, like I said, Al and Marcus Smart doubling him. Tatum shutting down Durant on that last play. And then obviously what happened on the other side, we'll get into in a second. But didn't know if you had any overarching thoughts on, like I said, obviously being there firsthand, that last play, or just, how they played in the fourth quarter as a whole.
First thought, I didn't tweet out that picture today of Kyrie.
Oh no, the one of Tatum celebrating with Kyrie sulking.
Tweet it out. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I gotta be better.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I really copy the image though? I'm just copying it from the old tweet, pasting it. There we go. Yeah.
Got it.
Didn't work the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I was so mesmerized that it's weird that I can't remember more about the game because I don't know, something's just not clicking. I don't remember the flows of the game. I remember them, starting the third quarter hot.
Mm-hmm.
They kept the pace pretty well in the first half. In the fourth quarter, I was just locked in. I wasn't, I was in some different zone, and obviously very excited. So, but yeah, the winner was just perfect. They made a really tough looking play work, and the place went bonkers. Yeah, I didn't even notice until I just started watching watching the game a few minutes ago, 10-15 minutes ago. The difference in defense, which is interesting, given how Smart played, like you said. But in the first game one of the series, but yeah, it was pretty wild. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by text now.
It's okay.
I got so many screens going. I got so many more screens than usual.
It is tough. Yeah, I'm looking in multiple areas, directions. But no, the thing I was going to say about that last play too is we discussed it, the two teams when we did our preview for this, but I think that last play kind of shows what you and I both think about, both these teams. Is the Celtics, they have that last play where pretty much everybody on the floor, except for, I think it was Derek White that was out there at the end of the game. He was the only guy, I think, not to touch the ball in that. Obviously, Horford got the rebound, got it to Brown, and then again, this just shows the growth of the Celtics team, which everyone's been talking about this week leading up to game 2 is, how many times would you have seen old Jaylen Brown try to make that layup over two guys? As much as we love Jaylen Brown, he's fallen into that trap before, trying to, take it himself when he should dish it. Then you have Marcus Smart. Everyone's talked about him, the pump fake on the 3, that's a ball he usually pulls. And even when he got the up fake and got around both his defenders, could have taken it too. I think Ime Udoka talked about it, that he said, props to Marcus Smart because he passed up a good shot. It would have been a jumper to maybe win the game, to find Tatum, and obviously Tatum just smart on him not standing around at the 3-point line to be able to cut. That to me showed the growth of this team, obviously wanting to move the ball around. And then, like I said, on the flip side of it, we have Brooklyn, who is mainly a two-guy team, obviously with Durant and Irving. That's kind of how they're going to play that game with those two superstars. But you saw that, like I said, their last possession, Kyrie comes down, dribbles out 20-ish seconds of the shot clock off because he wants to be the guy that, wins it for Brooklyn in the end. And then Durant has to throw up a prayer that, again, kudos to Tatum. I went back and watched that play a couple times, and it wasn't an offensive foul, but Durant tried to obviously get himself some space with a little bit of an arm that Tatum just took right in the chops and stayed with and played great defense on him. So like I said, props to Tatum there. But I just thought that was telling, that's why you and I feel like both think the Celtics going to pull this series out, because they play that, style of team basketball. Obviously tonight, Brooklyn's kind of moved the ball a little, it seems like has moved it around a lot better. And are playing with a better pace than they did in game 1. The Celtics are kind of falling into a slower trap pace that I was going to touch on in a second. But just that last play, like I said, kind of shows you what this Celtics season has become, that at the start of the year, you probably would have saw Smart pull that 3 or Brown try to take that layup. And then, they end up maybe losing that game by a point instead of winning like they did. Just, the growth they have had this season was fully on display, which is good to see.
Sorry, I keep getting distracted by the game and texts.
I know, I'm trying to
disregard my opinion. I kind of just be repeating myself.
Okay.
What I said before, but I will say it did become more clear that what we had talked about, the Celtics being a better team game, team-oriented team, was definitely more noticeable in person for some reason than it was on TV. But I guess it makes sense. But it could just be me imagining or thinking of it.
No, I've had that feeling before. It's obviously different going to the game, being there live, than obviously watching it on TV. But like you said, the team mentality, that was kind of a big takeaway. Obviously, look at just from looking at the box score. And again, why I think the Celtics are probably better off to to win this series. You had 4 out of 5 starters for the Celtics finished with 20 plus points, which is good to see. I mean, is that going to happen again in this series? Probably not. You're probably going to have a game where Tatum or Brown is going to have to take over and score the majority of your points. But it was obviously nice in game one to see that you had Tatum go for, what was it, 31, I think it was. Brown finished with 23, Smart finished with 20, and Al Horford, playoff Al, showed 23 points. The Celtics still get a win. Like, that was obviously good to see. You'd like a little more from the bench, and you're going to have to see that tonight with some guys struggling out of the gate that we'll get into in a second. But that was, I thought, good to see. Total team effort in game one, I thought, just coming from some notes I had from the game. We may have briefly touched on, I can't remember if we did or not, the Bruce Brown comments talking about Rob Williams not being there. The Celtics were going to be easier to attack. They were going to attack guys like Horford and Tice in the paint. That wasn't the case. I feel like the Celtics maybe heard those comments, used that as some fuel to the fire. Celtics outscored Brooklyn in points in the paint, 56-32 in the game. Bruce Brown, who had those comments, finished with 5 whole points. Obviously, I think he's got 12 tonight. Had 12 of Brooklyn's first 16 points or something ridiculous. So he's turned up his performance.
I get thrown off when I hear that name because Bruce Brown is the name of a coach. Like that doesn't sound like a player.
No, it's not a play. Yeah,
isn't Bruce Brown such a coach name?
It is.
Like, that's the first thing I think of whenever I see him.
Yeah. Sounds like an old white guy that has been been a coach for forever. I didn't realize they were doing the pregame player introductions. I couldn't think of the word, and I didn't realize he was from Massachusetts. So it's a guy with some close ties, they said. But
dude, he is like a Family Guy dad. Like that's a Family Guy character or a South Park character, like
a little bit, yeah,
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's a douchebag. Kyrie Irving's a douchebag. Kevin Durant is just as lanky as he looks in real life in person. I could probably kick his ass.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I go that far.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Can you imagine? I don't know if we talked about this on the show or I talked about this with someone else. How like if Kevin Durant never played in the NBA, do you think he'd have like 300,000 tweets probably?
Oh, probably. Absolutely. The guy lives on social media and lives on Twitter. Like,
yeah, he's a douchebag. He's a big twiggy alien.
You have used that to describe him before. I have. Yep. I've heard that one. But
he's Skellington. He's Skellington Bubbles. I'm referring to Trailer Park Boys for any fans. I love this new setup. I love not hearing static when you talk as well.
That's good to know that, because like I said, I could never hear that on my end.
I forgot about it for a while, and now I just thought about it. But
don't jinx it. Go find some wood to knock on.
No, dude, it's gone. It's gone. It's
all right
forever.
Let's hope. Fingers crossed. But yeah, that was just
only myself.
All right, fair enough.
If otherwise.
Okay. But yeah, just like that was nice to see. Obviously, like I said, I feel like that had to been back in the back of the Celtics' minds that kind of take a shot at Al Horford. I mean, Daniel Tice wasn't really anything special in this game, but obviously having Horford step up and go for 20 and 15 was nice to see. Grant Williams didn't have a great night offensively, but there were times, trying to watch that game on Easter with, family being here, that I looked up and a couple of times he had locked down Durant. So good, kudos to him for that. You're going to need more of that throughout the series. Like I mentioned, Durant had probably one of the worst nights of his career offensively, but he's going to bounce back from that. So that's kind of something to look forward to if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan. You got to hope the Celtics can figure out. But I don't know if you had any over or just final thoughts on game one stuff. I know we kind of quickly ran through that, but just I wanted to get some thoughts and maybe some things to look out for as we move ahead. Obviously, with the game fully in going on here, and then just moving forward for the rest of the series. Yeah, outside of the obvious ending. I thought Al Horford contributed at times some important shots, a couple 3-pointers. I saw Daniel Tice hit a 3-pointer, which I never thought I'd say. Yeah, it's a rarity when he hits one of those. It's like, yeah, but it was good. Just overarching thoughts. It was good to see them keep pace with them. Even though it's the first game, you dusting off cobwebs a little bit, both teams. I thought the Celtics were playing a little bit selfish basketball as I'm regaining my memory of thoughts of the game that I had on the day. It's all coming back now. Yeah, I felt like they were kind of being a little too fancy early on, kind of letting things marinate before they, played the smart basketball we know they're capable of. Sorry, a little message popped up on the restream screen.
had to get rid of
Mm-hmm.
because it was distracting me, evidently. Yeah, I thought it was a good stepping stone for the Celtics. If they have Jaylen Brown more consistent in the future, that's just going to make things even easier, hopefully. If Marcus Smart gets on the board here a little bit, he's only got 2 or just 1 point this game with that 1 free throw.
Mm-hmm.
Would like to see some depth scoring from him if the Celtics are to win this game. But yeah, the game was fun. Thanks to Matt again. He'll be listening to this probably tomorrow. For the tickets, I mean, he's been trying to get me to go for years, and like every game I can't go for some reason. So it was nice. It was nice to go to a Celtics game Matt never had before. So it was tons of fun. Do we have anything else to touch on that before we get to Bruins?
Just some closing, like I said, thoughts on what I could see being the case, or just some stuff the Celtics need to do to obviously get out of this 10-point hole that they're in, and then just moving forward with the series. Some thoughts from game one. Their pressure I thought was good the first 3 quarters. Like you said, the ending was kind of iffy. That fourth quarter, like I said, Kyrie almost single-handedly beating you. Was not fun to watch. Good that obviously they were able to get the buzzer beater, but I mean, a lot of positives from game one. The big negative was they blew a 15-point lead, and like I said, almost lost that game. But it was kind of clear and obvious why that happened, and it's clear and obvious why they're down 10. They're shooting horrible tonight. They're not, like you said, Smart has 1 point. Jason Tatum has 2 points, but he's over 6 from the field. So those 2 points are from free throws, so you got to get more there. But just keep the pace up. There were times in game one, like I said, it's happened a couple of times tonight where they've slowed it down, and that I think plays more into Brooklyn's game than it does the Celtics game. Like you said, there were times where you saw it that the Celtics maybe were a little selfish in game one. Like if they're moving the ball around, we've talked about this before. They're a better team when they're out and running, moving the ball, being quick. Everyone's helping out defensively. So just keep that up. Get more from the bench, obviously, is something I thought of too. And it was obvious. Again, Brooklyn's bench outscored the Celtics 30-17 in game one. Goran Dragic and Nick Claxton led the way pretty much. Celtics only played 3 guys, Derek White, Grant Williams, and Peyton Pritchard. But again, 17 points out of your bench. Not great. And then when you have a night, like I said, tonight where Tatum has 2 points, Smart has, I think he's up to 6 now. It says Brown's got 3. Scoring's got to come from somebody. Grant Williams has gotten 11 so far, so that's good to see. Again, you're going to have to get production out of some of those guys. And then if, like I said, Durant's not going to have a night like he had in game one. He's going to score. Kyrie's going to put his numbers up. So you got to continue the scoring, get, more guys involved, and then just keep up the physicality. It seemed like they were at times letting him play in game one. I didn't realize the fouls were as close as they were. Brooklyn finished with 2016 fouls. The Celtics finished with 24. A lot of guys were deep into not foul trouble, but I was surprised by how many star players had 3, 4, 5 fouls for some guys. But Brooklyn, it seems like they're a team throughout the season. I mean, they were banging around Kevin Durant in game one, Tatum, Grant Williams, like I said, Horford at times. That seemed to get to him, and obviously with the shooting night that he had, it seemed to. So if they can keep that up, stay out of foul trouble, then I think that's a key that's going to help the Celtics win this series too. Be physical, but don't be obviously stupid and take fouls where you shouldn't and get into foul trouble and then hurt yourself. Derek White's got 3 fouls, dude. I think, in the first quarter. So that
was a terrible turnover.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just be smart with the ball too. Like, it's simple stuff, but
and win both games at home, make it easy for yourself.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the question people were. I was listening to Felber Maz, and they were talking about, there was some callers that say, is it a must-win game for Brooklyn? Is it a must-win game for the Celtics? Try to go up 2-0 to Brooklyn, or does the Nets not want to go down 0-2 heading back home? Like, I wouldn't say it's a must-win for anybody right now. You'd like, if you're a Celtics fan, obviously, like we are, to go up 2-0 heading into Brooklyn. But if Brooklyn goes down 0-2, they're heading home. They have a chance to get 2 games at home and tie the series right back up. So I feel like it's not a game really where there's any pressure on anybody. And maybe if the Celtics lose this game and Brooklyn now heads home for 2, they could go up 3-1 if things get really out of hand. So maybe there's a little pressure on the Celtics, but it's too early in the series, at least for me. I don't know if you feel differently. If you feel like this is a must-win game for one of these 2 teams going forward, or are you in the same mindset that I am? Like, it's game 2 of the series. There's potentially 5 more to play after tonight. Like, there's no really pressure on anybody.
Yeah, same mindset as you, but
okay.
Obviously I'm going to point out the obvious. It's just massive if they win at home. Both times. On to Bruins. Speaking of someone in their home, Mark McLaughlin loves scoring goals at the Garden.
He does. It's been a nice fit so far.
To segue us quickly into game recaps, the game on my Papa's birthday. Happy birthday, Papa.
Happy birthday.
Versus Ottawa. on 4-14.
Not a great game though. Not a great birthday present.
Got to win on Papa's birthday.
It's unacceptable that you didn't.
Yeah, a little bit unacceptable, but it was an interesting game for a couple potential future pieces of the Bruins, not peaches. Jesper Froden tipped Matt Grzelcyk's 19th assist of the year back into the back of the net. Great tip for Froden, but it went pretty bad after that. Brady Tkachuk, Josh North, Tim Stützle, the usual suspects, scoring for the Senators when the pesky Sens come to town. The one that stuck out to me was the penalties that led to Josh Norris's 5-on-3 goal. Pretty much any team can score on a 5-on-3. It's just so much extra space. That really makes things take a turn for the worse. They scored two quick goals, and that was all she wrote when all was said and done. Tough blown lead. We don't see the Bruins really do that a lot this season, so that's good. And they had their first 3-game losing streak of the season.
Not great.
The first, it's good that this is only the first. This is the longest. It was the longest losing streak since December 4th, 2019, too. So, lengthy losing streaks are not very common from the Bruins. But they made things right. Just a couple stats actually from last game. 21 saves and 24 shots for Swayman. Omar came in and made 8 on 8. It continues to be a bit of a rocky road at times for Jeremy Swayman, but we'll talk a little bit about him as we go along. On to the game against Pittsburgh, also at home, a 2-1 win, 46-24-5 on the season after that. Trent Frederick gets put in the lineup after the healthy scratch and responds. Quite
very nice to see.
Eric Howla scores, 112 later, and that was all the scoring the Bruins did, and it's all they needed. Kind of rare you see something like this, but it worked. But the one guy on the other side who scored was, of course, Dan Heinen.
Guy loves his revenge games.
I miss my boy Heino. He was a good lad. He was a good 3-zone player. But yeah, he has the revenge game. So, the Boston/New England sports teams for some reason are always prone to revenge games.
Seems like it of late, yeah.
It's very strange, but on to St. Louis. In St. Louis, the second time they played each other in a week. Bruins win 3-2 in OT. This was last night, 47-24-5 on the season. Sheesh. Third in a row for Jeremy Swayman. He makes 20 saves and 22 shots, low shot counts, but he's, struggling at times. I like to see him make more saves on low shot counts. We have, 22 in the Blues game, 24 in the Ottawa game, and 24 in the Penguins game. So, I'd like to see a little bit better from Jeremy Swayman with low shot quantities. So, that's just my piece. Pavel Buchnevich gets the goal scoring started in this one from Tarasenko and Kyrou. Blues depth scoring and depth in general honestly has been just really good this season. It's been a really big reason to why where they are at. Jake DeBrusk gets his own rebound, sends the puck over the shoulder of Ville Husso. The Blues are cowards and don't want to play Jordan Bennington against the Bruins.
Seems like it, yeah.
It would have been 7-2 in not overtime. Taylor Hall, a guy that you might have expected to score a little bit more this year, been more of a primary passer for this team, an assist man. Barry's just a beautiful tip. A goal scorer's goal, puts it in the right spot on a tip. One of the harder things to do on offense. Robert Thomas, though, plays spoiler. 2.4 seconds left in the period. The Bruins have a serious problem with letting goals up in the final minute of periods. It feels like 8 games out of 10, they'll get pants in the final minute.
This has been plaguing them for a while, though. I feel like. Sorry to cut you off, but this is a common theme with them year to year. It seems like.
I don't know if I've noticed it as much year to year, but it's too common of a theme this year. The first goal was just brutal. I didn't even mention that.
Mhm.
They just got absolutely schooled way too early on in the game to be getting schooled like that. Robert Thomas scores. I mean, he's having a crazy season. I had a friend text me like, "Oh, Robert Thomas has 73 points yesterday," and yeah, he does. Um, on the Bruins side of things, it's just the main thing that sticks out to me. Not even the awesome overtime winner from Charlie McAvoy. McAvoy, DeBrusque, and Coyle are just randomly an awesome overtime line. So that's
Mhm.
a thing.
Yep, that works.
Mike Riley. Mike Riley is grinding my gears lately.
He's kind of just there. I feel like he's borderline useless at this point of the
in the
season.
penalty box.
Oh, that too.
That's
Yeah.
what you mean there.
Yep.
6 straight games of the penalty. 4 of those penalties are high sticking.
That's bad. I didn't realize
For
it was
a guy
that bad.
who fringed the lineup, just give me Jack O'Shawn and give me Jack O'Shawn in the playoffs.
Mhm.
Like, I'm really sick of Mike Riley right now. And it's not even just that. He has become more and more clueless with time without the puck on his stick.
Mhm.
Like, his hockey awareness without the puck is just not good at all. His defensive game has gotten worse. The season's gone along. I felt like he's a guy that, not thinking towards the offseason yet, but he had comments said that he was not a huge fan of the time he was benched. A guy I think is going to be a trade candidate in the offseason.
Mhm.
You have defensemen in like Jack O'Shawn in particular that are ready, and you got to give him a shot. You got to make room for Connor Clifton maybe if you want to keep him in the mix.
It's a tough one too.
But like Mike Riley would have some decent trade value, and it would clear things up a little bit.
That's true.
For the eventual signing, an eventual spot for Mason Lowry, you're going to need this time next year when they sign him out of Ohio State, because I think he'll probably be good enough to step in right away if he can build his defensive game, because he's known more for his offensive defense abilities versus being a two-way guy. Maybe he'll build into that two-way guy, but it's not quite there yet. Watching him over the past year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And, bouncing off the opinion I heard about him, as I asked Chris Peters, shout out to Chris Peters on Talking Hockey Sense, for answering my question. He's kind of in the same boat that Lowry is going to be a good player someday, but needs to work on his defense. So as I go on that tangent, let's head on to the week ahead.
Okay.
Pittsburgh tomorrow night. Just played them recently. 43-32-11 now. They're in the Metro. Sidney Crosby has 80 points in 64 games to lead them in scoring. Tristan Jarry is week to week and not looking too good. He had to be taken out. He wasn't walking. They took him out in some sort of cart. It wasn't a wheelchair though. I don't know what it was called. I forget.
Okay.
He's week to week. So Casey DeSmith and Louis Domingue are holding down the crease. Swayman will start against them. David Pastrnak, Hampus Lindholm, and Linus Ullmark all skated today, but will not play. It looks like right now. And an interesting thing I actually heard recently about Pittsburgh is that I think it was like 24 games for each team, so like 48 total, or for each situation rather, not team. They were like 8-16 against winning teams in the last 24 games against winning teams.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, so I never really picked up on that, but some people do in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those people. Next up, keeping with the Metro, they got the Rangers. Feels like we haven't played the Rangers in a long time.
Yeah.
Artemi Panarin leads them in scoring. I saw someone tweet, and I totally agree. It was actually Heat Daddy on Twitter at Danny Allstar 15. Artemi Panarin's having the quietest 90-point season like ever. It's pretty weird because he's on a team in the Big Apple, but got a quiet 22 goals and 70 assists, 92 points in 72 games. Igor Shesterkin's putting together one of the greatest goaltending seasons still of our lifetime. Stumbled for about a week, but he's now at 36, 11, and 4 with a 2.01 goals against. Seeing someone at this point of the season over or just about under 2 is ridiculous and so rare. 936 save percentage, 6 shutouts. Then you got Alexander Georgiev, 13-9-2 with a 2.91, 898, and 2 shutouts. Yeah, Shesterkin is going completely bonkers this year.
Seems like Vezina and then some.
He has to be. He's still my pick for the Hart Trophy too. I think he should clean up, and I don't think he will, but I think he should. I think there's no player more valuable to their team than him. But it's kind of ties into a debate we recently had. It wasn't really much for debate, more for discussion. Should it be the most outstanding player or should it be the most valuable player? That can go for any sport. They got a back-to-back after that. They go from New York to Montreal to play the Canadiens, 46-11 on the season for the Canadiens, 8th in the division. Carey Price is back. He's 2-0 with a 2.02 and a 9.18, looking pretty good with those numbers. We might see him for the first time in a while. Jake Allen, not great. Sam Montembeault, not great. I'm not going to read all the stats. We've done that so much lately with the Canadiens. But yeah, the really only noteworthy thing is Cole Caulfield and being Cole Caulfield and Carey Price being back. So good for him for
about it. Yeah,
he needed, and maybe we'll see him against the Bruins for the first time in a long time. One of the best goalies in the world, one of the best goalies all time when he's on his game. You go from a little tour of the Metro to a tour of the Atlantic, where the Bruins welcome the Florida Panthers and leading scorer in the NHL, Jonathan Huberdeau.
Would have never guessed that. Good player, but
all-time NHL record for assists by a long shot now for a left winger. Playing out of his mind, not a very good defensive player, but when you score 11 points, like 111 points in 76 games, that kind of makes up for it. They're a wagon to me. Some people were kind of waning or, never really had much faith in the Florida Panthers. Excuse me. But they're kind of one of those teams due to their lack of deep run playoff experience. People like, oh, they're not legitimate. To me, right now, I'm still teetering on them being my cup favorite in the Eastern Conference or not.
Okay.
I feel like
who do you have as competition to them? Because I feel like right now, I feel like I would probably
obviously Tampa Bay because of the reputation.
I
think a lot of teams could beat Tampa Bay this year, though. I have a hard time saying for certain they're going to be back, but they honestly could be.
Tampa seems as vulnerable as they've been in a while. I feel like
exactly.
That's my
Yeah, the lack of Tampa being the top tier Tampa we're used to, unless things change if the postseason is a whole new season thing lives up to the hype for them. Yeah, I think Florida could beat Carolina. They could beat the Rangers. They could score enough. That's really just any team if they can score enough on the Rangers because it's just Durkin. Yeah, the Panthers, the two things that stick out to me, I've watched a lot of Panthers games this year, is they get on teams early. Like, I feel like multiple occasions I've seen them score 4 goals in the first 10 minutes of the game. And they're the best comeback team in the league. Come from behind, they have 19 comeback from behind wins I saw a week ago on some graphic on TV. They're just dangerous. They're dangerous. They're deep. They're the deepest they've ever been. They got Claude Giroux at the deadline. They got Ben Sherrod, who sucked on Montreal, but he's honestly been pretty solid for them so far for the most part. And then when the playoffs start, they'll have Aaron Ekblad back, who's, I'd say, if he played the full season, he'd probably be a top 7 defenseman in the league. He's phenomenal. He's gotten so good, but he is a first overall pick, so he's finally been delivering on that, especially the past few years. Teetering on picking them to win the Stanley Cup. Much like I'm teetering on the Calgary Flames to win the Stanley Cup, or at least go there from the West. A little bit. Kind of in the same boat, though, just in different conferences. They're the same team to me in certain ways. Anything that stands out to you about the week ahead?
No, but the one thing I wanted to ask you is I obviously haven't been able to catch a lot of the games because of work. I didn't realize that Swayman has played 3 in a row. Do you have any that? I don't know if that's something that kind of stands out to me. Is I don't know if I are they gearing him up maybe for a playoff is one way I think about it. Because we've had this discussion. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he was okay. So never mind that. That about sums that up. Because I was going to ask you, we've had a discussion before of what direction they should go with goaltending when it comes to the playoffs. Is I didn't know if with Swayman starting 3 games, if they're trying to gear him up maybe, but the Olmark injury completely slipped my mind. So Never mind. I'll scratch that question from the record.
Yeah, I don't really know why they're like. I mean, they're battling for points, but like, give Troy Grosnick a little time. He's been like Grosnick's been like the best goalie in the AHL this year. I think one of the best. Last time I checked the stats, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're gonna get Swayman against the Penguins. He's worrying me. He's
been shaky. Yeah, I mean, it's been a good almost month now. I feel like, right, that we've had this kind of inconsistency in this. I mean, we talked about it before. I don't know if I said the sky was falling or asked you that question, but like you weren't as concerned as before. Now you've kind of flipped the script on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's workload.
Okay.
It's workload.
But what's he up to in games right now? Do you know off the top of your head? If you had to guess.
No, I think he's just not used to this workload.
Okay.
Weighing on him, and he's just not as sharp because of that.
Mm-hmm.
As I check his usage so far, 38 games played. So I was gonna say 40, but
yeah, that would have been my guess. I mean, this is a concern you've had that we've talked about this before. That the exact reason why you thought Omar should get some games in the playoffs if they decided to go with Swayman as the starter for game one.
Yeah, and the thing with Omar, because he was playing so good before his injury, he took a shot to the mask. He doesn't have playoff experience. Like, this is a big workload for him. So right now, it just goes back to what I said about 2 weeks ago, and you agreed with me, was ride the hot hand. So at this point, if Omar's healthy enough, at that point, start him game one.
Yep.
Unless Swayman really turns things up. But, Swayman's in a weird spot, but it was bound to happen. It's not, I think I mentioned this last week too, the Carter Hart situation. It's not going to be.
No, yep, you did, yep.
In that camp. But yeah, I'm a little worried about Swayman. He's just not himself. I'm not going to act like the goalie doctor. He's just not himself.
Just a rookie funk right now, you'd say. I feel like.
Yeah, that's
not maybe as drastic as a rookie wall, but because he's still like putting up obviously decent games here and there. But like, it's noticeable that there's been a little bit of a struggle of late, and maybe that's the thing too. I'm curious is if Omar gets back healthy sooner rather than later, maybe they still will ride Swayman a little bit more just to see if he can get himself out of it, or is maybe they, once Omar comes back, like you said, they just kind of go with him and jump into the playoffs that way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's awkward. We're kind of hoping for a while that it was just going to be Swayman riding it, but now it's getting a little awkward. But yeah, I'd go Omar game one. Last week we forgot to mention some news points that I just forgot to put in, so that's on me. Oscar Steen signed a 2-year extension worth $800K per, which will start next season. Doesn't affect his salary this year, of course. It's a one-way deal. Last Bruin we saw have a one-way deal signed all of a sudden, and have it work out for them was Jakub Zboril before he got hurt. They signed him to a one-way because they expected him to make the roster. So that could be good news for Steen. He could be on the opening roster and potentially with the Bruins full-time next season. So he's a guy that's absolutely earned it. So I'd be totally cool with that. And Curtis Lazar being a UFA likely that they will move on from. Sorry, any Curtis Lazar fans. Yeah, there's a spot right there on the right wing for him. So he gets a well-earned extension. Surprised he hasn't been the call-up instead of Frodian lately, but I mean, they signed Frodian internationally, so they want to give him some games, see if they want to keep him around. He's UFA as well. Another thing is Johnny Beecher. He's on ATO this year in Providence, following Michigan being eliminated in the Frozen Four. He's been awesome in his 2 games he's played for the Providence Bruins. He's like at 3 or 4 points. I think he might have a point in his debut, but I'm not sure. But he had 3 points, including the game winner against Lehigh Valley last night. Looks really good. If you watch clips of him in the past or present, pretty interesting what that kid could do in terms of his speed for a kid that's 6'3", 210. He has very, very quick first step speed for a big guy. So that's exciting. If Nick Foligno weren't in the mix, I'd say if I was running the show, pencil in
bring him right
Beecher,
up.
Beecher, Nosek, and McLaughlin on the 4th line, because I think Trent Frederick is a guy that John Beecher can be similar to, but he has a little more skill and speed. So if anybody needs a little scouting report. You got it from me. That's what I see. But if he hones in the physical game well enough and effectively enough, I could see him being like a quicker Milan Lucic. Honestly, people are probably thinking to themselves right now, "Oh, you're just saying Bruins." Like that's not super.
First guy that comes to your head.
Yeah, but no, I'm being dead serious. Like, I'm excited about John Beecher. Some people kind of soured on him at times, I think, because of injury troubles and slumps in scoring a little bit in his time at Michigan. But I'm excited about him. He looks pretty confident so far. Down in Providence from the looks of things, and I haven't watched the full games, but just clips I've seen. Another guy that's comfortable down there is recent signee Georgi Merkulov or Gosha Merkulov.
God, I hate hockey names.
Why? That's a cool name.
It's a cool name, but just like me who can't pronounce names to begin with, like I would not have guessed it was Gosha, whatever you just said.
Or Gorsha. No, Gorsha.
Or Gorsha, yeah.
Or
okay.
Gosha, not Gorsha.
Gotcha.
I'm mixing myself up now. The freshman they signed out of Ohio State, 20 goal scorer this year in his freshman year at Ohio State. Has two assists and scores a shootout winner in his AHL debut. Then he scores his first 5-on-5 goal in the AHL as well last night. He's buzzing. He's got some chemistry with Chris Wagner from the looks of things, so that's pretty interesting. Georgi Merkulov. They're getting a really good return on their undrafted free agents, and last but not least, Brendan Bussey, the right-handed catcher out of Western Michigan, who signed to play goalie in the AHL for the Bruins. For the rest of this season, wins his first 2 AHL starts, AHL Player of the Week, and finishes the week with a 2-0 record of .96 goals against average, under 1, and 964 save percentage and a shutout. So pretty good week for prospects.
Say so.
Pretty good early return. Interesting, the Bruins have a right-handed catcher in the system now, so maybe that's the difference maker. That's the morale shift. The Infinity Stones are all in the gauntlet, but just not the same ending as Thanos, though. No. Spoiler alert.
For anyone who hasn't seen that movie.
That's really about it. Biggest thing I'm looking forward to right now is that Panthers game because I want to see that late season barometer.
It's a great measuring stick game, yeah.
Hopefully with Pastrnak and Lindholm back.
Yeah. That's a game you hope everyone's healthy for. Absolutely.
At this point, rest Pastrnak for the rest of the regular season if you need to, and bring Lindholm back as soon as possible because I want him to establish some more chemistry before the playoffs. But we'll see what happens there. That's about it for Bruins. We're kind of buzzing here. We're on a good pace.
I think so.
Deebo Samuel requests a trade out of San Francisco per Jeff Darlington. Some additional information from Ian Rappaport that came out after the announcement was the 49ers have been looking to make offers for a long-term deal with Deebo Samuel, but he's been unwilling to engage. This is why. Unclear where this goes from here, but Samuel wanting out is the latest in big name wide receiver drama. Money is not at the root of the issues for Deebo Samuel. Otherwise, what could I can't read. Otherwise, that could be fixed.
Brain is breaking.
Offer. Yeah, it's 420, dude.
There you go.
But there are also issues with how he's used. I think every time I look back at the stream, I think people can tell with my eyes. But
well, if they couldn't tell before, your secret's definitely out now.
Yeah. Well, I look pretty pie-eyed in the thing.
Gotcha.
I've noticed a couple times. Deebo Samuel, one of the best wide receivers, definitely the best dual threat NFL offensive player, wants a trade out of San Francisco. Shocker, kinda, but like
little bit.
Because we've been hearing things of a lot of these big name receivers that are looking for big money now, potentially wanting out, with AJ Brown taking Tennessee out of his Twitter bio, which is obviously going to fuel speculation. But now it seems like they're working out pretty good, and a deal could get done soon. Deebo Samuel requests a trade. If I were to have picked between the two, I would have said AJ Brown would be the guy to request a trade. But muy interesante, isn't it?
I'd say so. I mean, absolutely sign me up 100%. It gives you a second chance to get this guy that you passed on the first time or missed on the first time. I saw, like the Rappaport tweet said that money hasn't been the problem. I can't remember who the tweet was from. I think it was from like a verified source that said, I think he's more pissed off about how he's being used and how he wants to just like mainly be a like strict wide receiver and just run routes instead of, being the gadget guy that, like you said, he's been, that has made him as great as a receiver as he was last year. Like you said, burst onto the scene, his big, breakout year. But I'm not that surprised to hear that. I mean, there were times, especially in the playoffs last year, granted, with Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback, you're going to have some hairy situations you get into. There were some times where he got killed out there. Like he got lit up, destroyed, running the football, going over the middle. Like, so him just want, go back to being a regular wide receiver. And that's, where the problem is how he's being used. I 100% could see him getting a little aggravated by that.
Yeah, that's weird that, if that's the case, but it makes sense.
Yeah, at least guy's out for longevity.
Because your ability in the backfield is increasing your payday. So
true. Yeah, it goes exactly. It goes. That's why it's such a weird situation. I feel like it goes both ways. Yeah. Like you could help yourself out by having, more obviously positions under your title, however you want to word it. But then again, I feel like Deebo Samuel is looking out for I want to stay healthy and like I said, not get, try to run up the middle and get blindsided by somebody and get croaked on a play where I'm lining up as a running back. So I could definitely see both sides of the argument here. But that's like you said, which makes it so interesting is what direction does Deebo Samuel want to go in?
Yeah, it's crazy interesting because it's tough to imagine the Patriots doing it with what they've already done for Devontae Parker.
Yeah, that's yep.
Do they want to give up the 21st overall picks? They'll probably have to. I would.
I was thinking about this. I would give that pick up. I'm curious. There's been talks now, of course. I mean, with the Patriots, there always is about the prospect of trading down in the drafts. I wonder if maybe if this becomes more and more available for them, if they're more willing to trade down so they get more picks and then try to flip more picks to the 49ers to make their offer more enticing than maybe another team that's out there, instead of just giving, the 21st and some other stuff. Maybe you get the 20, get down to the 25th or 26th somewhere, down to towards the bottom, but you get extra, obviously, how it works out. You get extra picks and stuff like that, depending on the trade. Maybe that makes the Patriots a more enticing team for the Niners and Deebo Samuel to work a trade for.
I really just hope so, just to make things right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's going to happen. But
no,
I mean, Deebo, Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers, and Kendrick Bourne would be awesome. Hopefully Kendrick Bourne reaches out to him. We know Trent Brown is.
I was going to say Trent Brown already did, I think, right? Yeah.
Another former 49er, but they didn't play together. Said A at 19 problems with a Z. Very cool. Pull up the Foxborough, my G. ... It don't get that cold.
I don't know about that.
It does.
That might have been a lie.
Goofing. He's just goofing.
All right. I don't know if Deebo Samuel wants to be lied to. That might not be the best recruiting strategy.
No, Deebo knows the deal.
Okay. Just really quick, just looking at the teams that are interested. I mean, I saw you had the tweet obviously talking about how deathly scared you are of the Chiefs getting involved. I thought I saw a report out there that they haven't made a serious offer or haven't really inquired. The team that scares me on that list is obviously the Jets. We've heard it all that the Jets have been interested, and it seems like every receiver that's become available and have missed out on guys like Tyreek Hill. They checked in on DK Metcalf, and doesn't seem like they're going to go after him or that the Seahawks want to give him up. This just, like you said, maybe AJ Brown sticks in Tennessee. If he goes, maybe the Jets become more involved in him. But the fact that the Jets are checking in, doing their due diligence, they should be with a young quarterback, for a guy like Deebo Samuel to have to compete against him now with the likes of already Hill and Waddle and obviously Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. If the Jets add a top tier receiver, then you're more in trouble than you already were to begin with.
Yeah, if I'm talking to the Jets and I'm the 49ers, I'm trying to get picked 10. Which
I mean that would be enticing too if you're the Niners.
But yeah, if the 49ers did Deebo and maybe had to add something to get picked 10, I would probably do that if I were them.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't.
They don't pick till pick 61. The Dolphins, the Chiefs now that was a pick trade,
Yep.
and the Tyreek Hill trade have their pick. So, yeah, I'm very worried about the Chiefs though. But the Jets are interesting because 2 firsts, 2 seconds. It's just some guy made a good point. Like, if they traded Tyreek Hill for money reasons, why would they trade for Deebo Samuel? That might hold them
I
back.
was
But
just thinking the same thing.
maybe Deebo's just like gets the money he wants there and it works out. Maybe it's a different situation because we don't know what's going on exactly behind the scenes with Tyreek Hill. And that I imagine that trade would be have the extension pre-negotiated. So that would help.
You have to think, yeah.
Yeah, the team I'm most worried about here is, I tweeted, it's the more I've thought about it with time, I'm most worried about the Chiefs because it affects the Patriots as much, not because I think it's going to happen as much. To me, it's the Jets or the Packers. The Packers are, a similar situation to the Chiefs where they have multiple picks in each of the first 2 rounds. So they need receiver help. So
that'd be another case. I feel like that'd be weird though. You trade away Devontae Adams. And maybe that was more so because he didn't want to be there couldn't, work on an extension there. But then you bring in Deebo and get him an extension. Maybe that's not like a money thing like you alluded to with the Chiefs and not wanting to or figure out an extension with Tyreek Hill rather. But
the team real quick I expect to get involved is the Saints, with them having 2 mid-first round picks now and obviously wanting an awesome player.
Do they have the cap space for an extension for him though? I feel like that's the one thing that would hold
the moment thing. But
yeah,
they've got above the cap now, but I don't know if it would work.
No. The one thing I was going to say is, all the talk we've just did about the money, the draft compensation, everything, and then you mentioned it too with the Devontae Parker trade. Like this, it's a deal that you and I and every Patriots fan on paper would say, absolutely, yes, you do this 100%. But in looking at it from a Bill Belichick and the Patriots standpoint, it's like there's just too many factors going against them bringing in this like a guy like this. They're not going to trade the draft capital in the year where they probably need it, and they're not going to shell out a crap ton of money to extend him. Maybe they'll, do something crazy and we'll see the complete opposite because they've surprised us before, obviously, with what they did last offseason. But like right now, this just does not seem like a move that they have any, maybe not desire to make, because I'm sure they're checking in on it. But like it's a deal that just doesn't scream like, oh, this is a prototypical Patriots move that they'll definitely jump in on, which is frustrating because
I'd be more chomping at the bit if we didn't trade for Devontae Parker.
Exactly. Then there's a clear still need. Yep.
Yeah. But
damn it, now I'm going to hate Devontae Parker this season because he's blocking things. Now it's like that'd be something though. People get pissed at him before he even suits up as a Patriot.
Right. Yeah, damn, it does kind of suck though that we could have gotten Deebo Samuel.
Now we're going to hate on Devontae Parker.
We missed on Deebo Samuel again. Yep.
Yeah, I know, right?
Damn it.
And then it's exactly too. It makes it even worse if AJ Brown somehow gets out of Tennessee. Like history is repeating itself in just a vicious circle. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Take 2 and you failed again. Like,
it'd be like the Bruins in 2015. You missed on all 3.
Yep. It's just a vicious circle of pain.
Why did I say that? I didn't mean it.
Well, speaking of Devontae Parker, some interesting news with him today that might rub some Patriots fans the wrong way if you care about jersey numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah, he takes number 11 with the caption, eyes emojis, skeptical face.
Skeptical face.
I don't give a damn if you like it or not.
All right, that's one way to go about it.
I think we know what he's talking about. I don't have a problem with it, but people that are bored are going to.
Yep. There's only 2 numbers that you shouldn't be giving out for the next couple of years, and that's 12 and 87. That's about it. Like, I like Julian Edelman, great player for the Patriots, but like if you had to like pick one of those 3 that you got to give up.
Yeah, it gets a common receiver number.
Like,
and
exactly.
As a quarterback, the quarterback is not going to change his number.
No. I'm sure there's no way Devontae Parker didn't like call up Julian Edelman and was like, hey, are you cool with this? Like, I'm sure that he's just playing this. Edelman's response that I'm sure you're going to get to in a second. Like, I'm sure this is all pre-planned. Like they know what they're doing. Like he didn't just walk into New England and go, yeah, I'm taking 11. And nobody's doing anything about it. Like he definitely talked to Edelman beforehand and was like, hey, you cool with me doing this? If not, I'll change to whatever's available. But I'm sure Edelman, like he's not going to care that much. I don't think.
See, if they talked about that, Julian Edelman would probably tell him to say that.
That's what I mean. It's like he's got a good enough sense of humor and is a cool enough guy, it seems like, where he's like, yeah, dude, go for it, whatever. My playing days are done. I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah, I agree. So speaking of trading, we got a few questions that we want to reconvene on before the draft on next Wednesday, or this upcoming Wednesday now. Will they just, kind of like a yes or no type of game, will they make the 21st pick? I'm saying yes.
Probably, yes.
So will they trade down? No, in this case, but I wouldn't be surprised. Nope. Will they trade the 21st pick for Deebo Samuel? I'm also going to say no.
No, for all the reasons we mentioned. Like, again, would love it if they did, but there's just too many factors that go against how the Patriots work. So I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I agree. What position will they target in the first round and or the first two rounds, if you want to give your picks for both rounds? I'm going the smart route because I'm trying to will it into existence, and I think it's possible corner and linebacker.
That's what I'm thinking. I just think flipped.
What do you think? Yeah.
I think linebacker, corner. I mean, they might try to target a receiver, but like I said, I mean, we talked about it. The Devontae Parker thing might change that thought, which I don't have a problem with. Go get a receiver maybe later in the draft, but I don't know. It's definitely interesting. I mean, if they trade down, which again, you and I don't think they're going to, but if they do, then maybe, you could throw a receiver in there. If they get, an extra first or an extra second from somewhere, then they could go linebacker, corner, receiver. But as of right now, I'm sticking with you. Just flipped linebacker, corner is my, round one, round two.
And if it's not either of those, give me Zion Johnson because he's a BC Eagle and he wears size 18 shoes and
guy's an animal.
He's a beast. I want my boy Zion. We need an Eagle on the Patriots.
And that's just a cool name.
Yeah, and speaking of guards, if they were to draft a guard there, Kenyon Green, who can has played over. I think it's
very versatile, right? Yep.
At 4 different offensive line positions. So
that just screams prototypical Patriot.
Yeah.
Not that I have a problem with it, but
they're meted with him. Oh my God, I can't speak today. I'm already in vacation mode because I'm going on vacation tomorrow.
Very nice.
Stoned. So,
happy 420.
Yeah, first time participant.
All right.
Recently getting into the edible game. We'll see what happens. We'll, like I said, we'll reconvene on these questions in a week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if it's not a corner or a linebacker, give me Zion Johnson. Or Kenny Green, doesn't even matter. If I were to pick, I'd love to end up with Andrew Booth Jr. and Quay Walker if he somehow fell that far, but I don't think he will. So maybe like Chad Muma if they need a linebacker, or Nick Bonito, or whatever. But I was thinking Nick Bonito when I think of him. Nick Bonito and Nick Bonito. They're cousins, maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know if you read through this article, but Bill Barnwell
did not. I'll pull it up.
Trades, for the drafts, if each team were to make a trade, he threw some out there with their first round draft picks. And we got a couple relating to the Patriots. Wouldn't be a fan of this one. Patriots get pick 39, a 2023 second, and a 2023 fifth, or pick 21 and a 2023 fourth. No, I don't want to trade back that far.
I was just going to say that if you're trading back, you got to stick with the first round pick to some degree, whether that's like the 30th pick, 30 is just at the very end of the draft. You got to have a first round pick this year, unless you're trading for Deebo Samuel, which we both agreed they're not doing that. Doesn't seem like it. So if you're going to trade down, keep a first round pick, go get something else.
Yeah, which is why the second scenario was better because they would be trading pick 21, pick 85, and N'Keal Harry to the Green Bay Packers for pick 28 and pick 59. I would do this without blinking.
I would too. Sorry for the reaction. I just looked up quick at the Celtics game, and I think Daniel Tice and Marcus Smart just ran into each other. Yeah. Yep, ran right into each other trying to do a handoff.
I missed it.
Both went down like they just got shot. I'm going to blame that on Tice because I'm fully on board with Marcus Smart now.
Wow, he bundled Smart.
Yeah, yep. And now there's an offensive foul the other way. All right, smart, made up for the whatever that was at the offensive end. But yeah, to go back on that Patriots trade, I mean, anything that gets N'Keal Harry out of here, I don't care what it is. Like I'm fine with whatever that trade could be. They could trade him for like what was the Moneyball trade from the movie? They traded him for like a vending machine or something in that movie, or some change for the vending machine. So can't remember exactly. I haven't seen that movie in forever. But yeah, just anything that gets N'Keal Harry out of New England, I am fine with. Like I said, if you're going to trade a first round pick, make sure you get one back. That trade works for me.
Yeah, that is like a perfect trade.
Yep.
If they could do something similar to that or that would be awesome. That must be like the coolest feeling if you like put like a hypothetical trades article out or something, and one of them like verbatim
and then
happens.
Hits it. Yeah.
That'd be like winning the Powerball.
Well, didn't that happen in one of the NHL trades? I thought you brought up as one of their analysts did for the trade deadline preview. There was a trade that was pretty close to being the same.
I forget what it was. But,
yeah, I do remember vaguely something similar happening.
Very interesting. Very interesting. The Celtics are only losing by 5. So
they cut it to 2 at one point and then kind of fell asleep at the wheel a little bit. But hopefully they can close the gap a little bit more, not run into each other and look like a clown show out there.
Didn't even really pick up on that too much.
Oh.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for the show. We turned and burned through this show.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, I couldn't make a podcast without coughing.
It's good it's the end of it.
Excuse me. Allergies still hitting a little bit. Not as bad as last week though, as I fucked things up last week. But it's the best week to fuck things up.
True.
Because I was sneezing and sniffling a lot. Thank you for listening. You can watch us live if you're probably doing that, in one way, potentially, some of the listeners right now. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, a bunch of other ones you can check out online. If it's a popular podcast platform and you look us up there, you'll be able to find us more often than not. You can find us on TikTok. You throw Salvaggio and Cratty into the search bar. Download the Full Press Coverage app if you want to listen to us there as well. Just giving you all these options. Oh my God. Can you tell I'm stoned?
I was gonna say, I'm like, what happened? I looked down at my phone for a second.
What's next?
Forgot the outro.
Oh man,
I'm gonna be no help to you because I was fully in tune with the Celtics game. So
I'm gonna go
thank the listeners one more time, and
I'm gonna have some ice cream.
Get on out of here.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on out of here.
Regroup and try again next week.
Go Celtics! Wow, I just forgot the second half of the intro. That's crazy.
The outro?
Or outro.
It's not the intro. We're not starting again.
Happy 420.
This is a disaster.
I'm going on vacation.
All right.
Yep.
I'll be here.
Oh my God.
Holy fuck. Grant Williams got 15 points. We're not still live, are we?
No, we're live.
Oh God. Grant Williams has 15 points and 4-4 shooting. He's been the savior tonight. What did I say? More bench points.
Batman.
Jason Tatum is not playing well. I've never seen Batman and me in the same room before.
All right, I guess I gotta.
God, a horrible night for Tatum and Brown.
I don't know how to end this. I'm just gonna end the Zoom call, I guess.
All right, I think that's
next week.
All right.
This is all staying in there.
Oh Jesus.
We'll talk to you in a week. Peace.
See you later.